You're listening to Something Cheeky, a collection of podcasts where two sisters discuss TV, books, and movies with just enough irreverence and far too many pop culture references. Welcome to Something Cheeky, the Gentleman Bastards edition, where we discuss the Lies of Locke Lamora, book 1 of the series by Scott Lynch. I'm Nikki.
I'm Rosanna.
Welcome to all of our listeners, including our new listeners in Mexico. Well, I've read the entire series. Rosanna has only read up to what we're covering today, which is Chapter 10, Teeth Lessons. In this chapter, we grieve for those we've lost and watch a war begin. All right, Rosanna, you ready?
Yep.
All right. What was your reaction to this chapter?
I did not like this chapter.
Yeah.
I did not want to happen what happened.
Yeah, it was so sad.
I'm really, really sad that there are so many books still to come and that we're not going to have some of my favorite characters in the books.
Mm-hmm. And some of the funniest characters.
Really, I mean, there are 5 characters in this book that I have grown very attached to, and we just lost 3. That's more than half for those who aren't very good at math. That's a lot. That's a lot of them. It's
a big blow. It was really depressing to get to those parts, and surprising too. Well, for you, but
yes.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking, no, that can't be. I mean, that's not right. There's probably some sort of magic.
It's just mummery.
Something. It's makeup. They're good at makeup. Maybe they're not.
Maybe in the next chapter, Kahlo and Galdo jump up out of the fire and run out.
Yeah, I mean, if they weren't dead before, Locke killed them with the fire.
Yes.
But no,
maybe they took Romeo's potion, his sleeping potion, and
I think they're gone, and I'm really, really sad about it.
Did you have a favorite quote this time?
The quote that I chose is by Locke. And he's talking to the assassin, and he says, "When you see the crooked warden, tell him that Locke Lamora learns slowly, but he learns well. And when you see my friends, you tell them there are more of you on the way." Because Locke is pissed.
Yes.
Locke has a new purpose in life, and I don't think he's going to pay much attention to anything else.
Yeah, it's a pretty dangerous purpose, too.
Definitely. And also, you know, we get this reaction from Locke, but even though we have an idea of how Jean feels, we haven't heard, you know, what he's feeling.
Right.
And what his, not emotional reaction, but actual reaction is going to be. What's he going to do? I mean, I know he's going to be on board with Locke, but, you know, we've seen him as a little more sensitive, so we'll see.
And there's really been no time for a reaction yet. They've just been in go, go, go mode as soon as the deaths happened.
Yeah, and I also worry about Jean and him possibly blaming himself, even though that's not valid, but him being stuck in a position where he couldn't help, and his job, as given to him by Father Chains, is the protector. Is the muscle, and I can see Jean taking that responsibility on and it really changing him.
Do you think Locke is also going to feel any blame in this?
I know already that he's regretting not taking the twins' advice and leaving.
Yes.
And I know that he probably had a real sense of responsibility for Bug because Bug's so much younger. And not necessarily like a fatherly...
Well, Locke's been more of a father to Bug than I think Bug remembers ever having.
Yeah, definitely. He's been the only father figure I think that Bug, you know, puts any value in.
Right. And if Locke is Bug's father, Jean is Bug's mother.
That's true. That's true. And, you know, Bug was so young.
Yes, 12.
And what a horrible thing to happen to him when he's just starting. I just am really mad that they killed him. Really mad.
This whole chapter in general felt like it happened so quickly. It's really exciting and really rare to read a book that actually keeps you on the edge of your seat, like a movie, and I felt like my heart was pounding faster, and I just had to read the next sentence as fast as I could because something was happening, and it was really exciting.
I did that in the beginning of the chapter, but as it went on, I slowed way down because I didn't want what was happening to happen.
I read the whole scene in the Burrow probably 3 times through.
Yeah, I just read sentences over and over. Like, no, I couldn't have read that right. And I tweeted Scott Lynch.
Yeah.
And I said, You've broken my heart, man. Oh, the pain. Yeah, first of all, Scott Lynch, how dare you? Second of all, how dare you? I should say third of all, since he killed 3 people.
Third of all, Bug.
Yeah, Bug. What? Yeah. Why? Oh. And you know what? I don't think I would have preferred it to have been Locke or Jean. I didn't want anybody to go.
That's true.
You know, it's not like he killed somebody instead of somebody else that I would have been okay with. I was not okay with any of them.
Yeah. I really wanted my intro for this chapter that I always do to be something like no weddings and a funeral or Locke releases the Kraken or something, but I just couldn't bring myself to poke fun at it.
And the chapter started so optimistically for me because Locke wasn't dead.
Right.
And he was in the barrel, and I kept thinking somebody's going to get him out of there. And I was really guessing, especially after what we've seen from Jean, that it was going to be Jean that gets him out. And that's what happened.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, thank goodness. And then I just got slapped in the face.
Over and over again.
3 times. Terrible. I actually thought that maybe Jean was going to go also, that he was also going to die because of his name and the stitching and everything. And then I thought, oh my god, if all we're left with is Locke, he's going to be so crazy reckless because everybody's gone. So at least he still has Jean, I guess.
Well, Rosanna, the book's not finished. The book is not finished.
I swear. Okay. If they kill Jean before the end of this book, I'm not going to read the next one. I'll give up. I'm done.
I can't tell you anything.
My heart can't take it. And I also feel just like all over the place because I keep just like having feelings talking about it. So I feel like I have to like talk about this and then I'm going to jump over and talk about this and I got to go back to this because I'm just so scattered.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it.
You're grieving.
I am.
Yeah, you're still in denial.
I am still in denial. How much more of the book is there?
This was chapter 10. There are 16 chapters.
Oh, so a fair amount.
Yeah, we're only a little past the halfway mark, so we've still got a lot that can happen and will happen. Dun dun dun.
That's very ominous.
It is, right? We are just about to switch to the next section of the book.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 1 chapter and interlude left until we get to section 4.
Okay.
And I won't tell you that name yet, but next time you'll find out. All right. We started in the alcohol with Jean and Bug. In the space under the floor, turns out it is kind of like rafters built-ish. They're like 2-inch holes that they can see through. But they're basically completely separated from the top of the alcohol. They're perched in these rafters, hanging above the water, which we find out is one place where the water falls, and then it goes off into mysterious directions after that. Mm-hmm. Once the cask falls, they don't want it going off because they'll probably never find it again after that. And now we learn why Jean and Bug haven't come to do anything, not just because it wouldn't be prudent up where Locke had been, but because they can't really hear what's going on because of the waterfall. Mm-hmm. So you feel a little better, except that Jean has no preparation for Locke coming down in a cask.
Right.
It's just kind of a surprise, and it takes him a second. Bug seems to pick it up even faster than Jean does.
Yeah,
what's happened.
He did.
Which is so sweet, because he just didn't even think, just immediately jumped into the water. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to save him.
Very impulsive, but yeah, we've seen that before too.
And so brave. I mean, he's impulsive to protect his friends, which is also how he dies. But we'll get to that. I won't remind you quite yet. One thing Jean did hear was, send him out to sea, and is scared that Locke has already been killed, that they'll get the cask open and Locke won't even be alive. Mm-hmm. Not just from drowning. I imagined at that point that if Locke had been killed, then the Gentleman Bastards would have had to, I guess, just leave town, because I don't know how they'd explain Locke being dead right when the Grey King was also dead.
Right.
I guess they could have said the sickness killed him.
Oh, yeah, maybe so.
That seems like so long ago already.
It really does.
So much has happened, and that was, what, an hour and a half ago at this point? Maybe not even that long.
Yeah.
And now we also find out why we learned about Jean and his hatchet in the last interlude. Because now he is able to throw that hatchet perfectly into the cask so Bug can get it without, like, killing Locke even more.
Or Bug, even.
That's true. That's also true. That sounds really dangerous, though, throwing that when the cask is just bobbing and a kid is floating around.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then the salt devils. I'm guessing you did not see this coming.
Ugh,
Giant spiders.
I couldn't wait for that part to be over.
Yeah. Ron Weasley would be terrified.
Mm-hmm. It sounded really awful. Especially because they were not acting like they should have been.
Yes.
So they were even scarier. Because it's one thing if you have a giant dumb animal that's like, oh, whatever, I don't care. But if you have a giant animal that is attacking you, that is worse.
The description, they sounded terrible. Their carapaces were mottled black and gray, their multiple eyes the color of deepest night, starred with eerie reflections of bug's light. Their hairy pedipalps waved in the air before their faces, and their hard black fangs twitched.
It was almost like they got the opposite of gentling, of being gentled.
Worked up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like somebody shot some, like, heroin in them or something.
Does heroin make you go?
I don't know, doesn't it?
Maybe somebody gave them some angel dust?
Maybe methamphetamine. That pumps you up. I've heard. I don't know. Yeah, it seems like... I mean, that has to be magic, right? To have changed their behavior.
That's what they think is true.
I think that's true.
And it's not just that they're not timid around people like they usually are, but they're working together, and they're not really, pack animals.
Okay, so I think probably it's magic, but I guess it also could be a sort of breeding thing, like the scorpion hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've been bred to be that way.
Maybe.
They're all dead now, so it doesn't matter, but...
Jean yells out, "Bug! Bug!" Which to me I thought was funny because it could be, "Hey, person named Bug," or "There are bugs! There are bugs!"
Yeah.
Buck's trying to get Locke out, and Jean's like, "He doesn't want to come out of the cask right this fucking second." Jean hollered, "Trust me."
This is not the moment.
No, this is not the moment to give him CPR when animals are coming after you. There were so many good parts that I made notes of in this chapter when the salt devils were coming out. And Jean said, "It's not natural at all. Salt devils don't act like this." "Oh, good." Bug held the outcome of the globe out at arm's length as though he could conceal himself entirely behind it. "You discuss it with them." Jean says, "I'm sure we can communicate. I speak fluent, Hatchet."
Oh, sarcasm.
I know. It's nice that they can keep that up in scary times.
Yeah.
I also appreciated, and I'm just going to skip ahead for a second, I also appreciated that they didn't do any joking around at the deaths. That Scott Lynch really gave it that gravity.
Yeah.
It's not time to try to make yourself feel better with a joke or sarcasm. That was a really nice twist, because you see that so much with characters that are basically the people that bring levity to stories in different books and shows, that they never lose that levity. They never really accept how serious the situation is. And that's detrimental to the story.
Yeah, it takes away from it.
Right. But here, Lynch really knows when to change course and when to alter actions to make it really fit.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that.
Well, and that's more true to human nature and these characters. Real living people aren't going to keep joking, even if they joke all the time, if they've just lost somebody. Especially in this kind of way, being murdered.
Definitely.
So it's a more realistic reaction.
And I am gonna talk a lot about things that Bug say when we see him, just because this is the last time we get to hear him talking.
I'm so sad. It's even hard for me to talk about the beginning of the chapter when he's still alive.
Yeah.
Because the whole time we talk about him, I know he's dead. And it's just... it's so sad.
Lots of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I have all the feels. Well, Jean starts, hacking away at all the bugs. He gets Bug out of the water. Bug is also kind of hiding. He also has one of the hatchets. Jean jumps into the water, and after they kill all the salt devils, and gets the cask open and gets Locke out, and even then, with all the water around, they're still gagging at the smell of the horse urine.
Ugh.
It's disgusting.
That's bad. Yeah.
It was kind of nice, though slightly jarring, that as soon as Locke was up and Jean had gotten him basically back to life, with really weird CPR, his Bug pumped his legs to get his warm humors up.
Yeah, that was odd.
And Locke immediately started wisecracking.
Yeah.
Even though he felt terrible. They sneak out because they're avoiding Barsavi's people and possibly Ventress as well, the scorpion hawk. And they're heading home. They steal a boat. And, Jean says he'll trade off with Bug in a second. And Bug says, "What, no crack about my moral education?"
Right.
"Your moral education's over." Jean stared up into the sky as the dockside receded and Bug took them into the canal's heart. "Now you're going to learn a thing or two about war." And he does, but does not get a chance to do anything about it. It's very sad. And the whole neighborhood is like a ghost town. What was your thought on that?
it's late, right?
Right.
Because the funeral, we've just had the funeral. Well, not the actual
Yes.
funeral, but the funeral.
The procession.
Right. And that started late. And it was already pretty empty anyway. And so we've gone even longer into the night. And people are still, essentially hiding because of this whole procession and all the bad guys are out. And so, I mean, it makes sense. It would have been easier to get away if people were out, to blend in.
Ah,
But they're
yes.
the only ones. And that also makes me wonder how Ventress didn't find them.
Ah.
How did they get away without Ventress / Falconer / the Grey King knowing?
Do you think that maybe they weren't being looked for?
I can't imagine that they were so sure about this entire thing that they didn't even check.
Could they be busy doing something else?
Well, I mean, maybe the Grey King and the Falconer, but not even send Ventress?
I don't know. Maybe Ventress is a drone somewhere else in town watching people.
If the Grey King wanted Locke to be dead, and also for him to appear dead to Barsavi, he's been planning this and putting things in motion for, months, and then he just assumes that it worked out?
Mm.
I know that the assassin went to take care of whoever was at the Burrow.
Mm-hmm. Bug at that point.
Yeah, but not to check on Locke? I don't know. I find that odd. And I guess I probably will until they tell me what was going on during this time that would have been important enough to keep them away. It just seems like something that they would have checked on. Or confirmed.
Well, they assumed Locke would be dead because of the cask and or he would, fall into that mystery hole somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
They sent the Salt Devils, supposedly, allegedly, sent the Salt Devils
Right.
to either kill Bug and Jean or scare them away. If they were scared away, they would have gone back to the Burrow where Jean then he was basically disabled by the hanged man's grasp, and the assassin was sent there to kill Bug. So if they assumed Locke was dead and they had Jean and Bug covered, why would they need to watch them? Unless they thought they would go somewhere besides the Burrow.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but it just seems to me they know these guys and that they have been pulling off cons for years, and they're smart and they're quick and they're good at disguises and they're all this kind of stuff. That's the reason they targeted Locke in the first place, I believe, to be the Grey King, because he could do it, and the goal was for them all to be killed. So it just seems like it's just leaving it open. It seems like people who have put this much work into it would want to confirm. How could it not occur to them that Locke might be able to get out of it? He's gotten out of a lot of stuff. Not necessarily a barrel, but
Do you think it's just underestimating them?
Honestly, I hope that's what it is. Because that gives Locke and Jean
Some
more of an upper
leverage.
hand. Yeah. I hope that's what it is. It doesn't ring true to me for the Grey King to have left something to a probably. They're probably dead. The assassin probably found them. He probably died in the barrel.
I think it was more than probably, though, and here's why. There were 3 ways Locke could have died that all almost happened, that the Grey King could have been counting on. First, he was beaten very badly, which could have killed him. Second, he was put in a cask to drown. So if he wasn't killed by the beating, he could be killed by the cask. Third, just in case 1 and 2 didn't work, he would have ended up in that mystery hole because they thought that they had Jean and Bug covered with the Salt Devils.
How did the Grey King know that Barsavi was going to put him in a barrel and throw him over the side?
Right.
I think the Grey King assumed that Locke would be beaten because he had taken away his protection by the Falconer. But how did he know that that's what was going to come next? How did he know to send spiders and that he was going to go over the water and he was going to be put in a barrel? How do you know that?
He may not have known that he would have killed him that particular way. However, Barsavi wanted to kill the Grey King, and the Bonds Mage was not protecting Locke at that point. So you'd think that Barsavi would find a way to kill him because he could not protect himself against that many people, no matter how he did it. Or maybe somebody put a bug in his ear about, let's be poetic about this, poetic justice with the cask.
That could be.
Because we know Barsavi did get some information from somebody.
That makes more sense that they would have found that out.
I just feel like how much Barsavi wanted to kill him, and imagining Locke getting out of a situation where he is surrounded by 100 of Barsavi's people with no way out and no protection, he's gonna die. And They thought they had the only chance he had, which is Jean and Bug, totally covered. I can understand why he thought that Locke would definitely not have lived through that situation.
I can see why he thought that this was a good way to get Locke killed.
Right. But still, he did underestimate him.
He definitely did. The whole reason he picked him, I think, was because he's so good at getting out of stuff.
And he wasn't the one who got himself out of it. Jean and Bug are the ones who got him. He underestimated his team as well. And while they do seem to know a lot about Locke, I don't think they've spent as much time focusing on the abilities of all the rest of the Gentleman Bastards. Especially Jean. Mm-hmm. They underestimated his talent in fighting, basically. So we get back to the Burrow. The kitchen is trashed, which I thought was kind of a weird thing. Why would you waste time trashing the place unless you're looking for something specific? Especially since you think 2 people are going to make it back, and what are they going to do about it?
Was it trashed because somebody trashed it, or was there a fight?
Ah, that's a good question.
With the twins.
Maybe it was.
Because you're talking about one assassin killing 2 people who are used to taking care of themselves. How did he kill both of them?
Well, we don't necessarily know that it was that assassin that killed them. Maybe there were more people there, and they left because they only needed one person left.
Yeah, it seems like the mess could have been a fight. Because unless they had the stuff, that the Grey King was using to disorient people.
The Bonds Mage, basically.
Right.
Which they may have had.
Yeah, I mean, they could have. But it seems like the twins would have put up a serious fight if they weren't disabled. So that could have been the mess. It made me sad that it was a mess. And so we get to the Burrow, and there's a big mess, and we keep going, and I'm like, no. And my reading slowed way down because I didn't want to get to it.
Almost everything is gone. The mask box is scattered around all over the place.
All their money's gone.
Yeah. Well, I thought the wardrobe idea was a good plan, too, to take everything from there. Because not only are there lots of options for the Grey King to use if he wants to, for disguises or really nice clothes, but also, if anybody does make it back, they're not going to be able to disguise themselves.
Right.
Because things are gone. There's a little bit left, but not much. And then we see the twins. Colwyn and Galdo lay beside it on their backs, staring upward in the semi-darkness. Their throats were slashed from ear to ear, a pair of smooth gashes, identical twin wounds. Even reading that just makes me really sad. Oh, my favorite twins.
They didn't get enough time in the book.
They didn't. I want to go back and read all the fun stuff they said. I want a montage like you see in movies of all their one-liners and jokes.
Like the video they play at a funeral.
Right, just quips everywhere.
Yeah.
When they were kids and when they were adults with everybody.
And I can imagine if Father James was still alive, this would have really killed him.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been very, very difficult for him. Because those were his sons, pretty much. He raised all those kids.
And Lynch totally tricked me with the next line. Jean fell forward onto his knees. I immediately thought it was a reaction to seeing the twins.
I thought he was dying. I thought he got shot or there was some magic. I thought that Jean was gone too.
Ugh.
And I was this book.
Yep. And Locke's still trying to be protective. Bug tried to squeeze past Locke, and Locke shoved him back into the kitchen with all the feeble strength he could muster, saying, "No, Bug, don't." But it was already too late. The boy sat down hard against the edge of the witchwood table and broke into sobs. Gods, Locke thought as he stumbled past Jean into the wardrobe. Gods, I've been a fool. We should have packed up and run. It's so sad. Oh my god, it's so sad. Mm-hmm. And then he realizes that Jean is actually having a problem because he starts having kind of a seizure on the floor.
Because I'm assuming he's fighting it.
Certainly, I would think so.
And that's what's making this happen to him.
And then he sees the hanged man's grasp and he remembers the things I could do to you if I were to stitch your true name from the Bonds Mage. And Jean's name is stitched right into the hand, which sounds disgusting.
Oh, it's awful. Why? Why a hand? Was that explained?
No, it wasn't. Jean had heard of it before.
It's weird, though, a hand.
It is weird. And the hand, I'm guessing, of a hanged man. So it's very specific. And that symbolically, to me, makes sense. Someone who's damned. And there's no way to get out of it. It's too late.
Yeah, but his hand, it's just kind of, I don't know. It seems like stitching on a hand would be a lot harder than, say, a section of their back or their cheek or I don't know.
But a hand's a lot easier to just cut off and transport than all the rest of the body parts.
I suppose.
I don't want to think too much about it because it's disgusting.
It's pretty gross, yeah.
It's all gray and leathery and ugh. And then a man appears, the assassin, which I sound excited. I'm not excited about this.
No.
He just has one bolt in his crossbow that was apparently for Bug. And he says he's a Grey King's man. He's got a few. So now we know that it's not just the Grey King and the Falconer. There's a group of people here. And then Bug attacks. First of all, Bug talks a whole bunch of shit, which is great. I loved that. You can't take us both and all this stuff. He's so loyal and he's just ready to do anything to save his friends, his family. And I don't know if that's more about Bug's personality or more about the group of the Gentleman Bastards and how they've really embraced this family of theirs. Or maybe it's both. I was really happy about that. But then, of course, he attacks and gets shot. And then Locke just jumps right in and really starts to beat on this guy so he can take care of him and then get to Bug. You know, all the fury of grief. Mm-hmm. I wonder, is this Locke's first direct kill?
I mean, he doesn't actually kill him until he sets him on fire, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that is a direct kill, yes. But I mean...
Oh, yeah, I count that.
Yeah, it is. I was kind of surprised he didn't just tear him apart with his hands. Right. Yeah, I mean, for the people who know about, the Thorn, what is known is he doesn't kill people. They don't kill people.
Right.
So it makes me think he probably hasn't.
And he seems so crazed when he's fighting. There was one line, Locke smashed his fingers with a crossbow. The screams of the two men mingled and echoed in the enclosed space. He's just crazed fighting this guy.
Yeah, understandably.
Right.
I mean, he's taking all of his feelings that he has about the twins and Bug, and he's just fueling them into this fight. I mean, if I were that assassin, that would have been like, oh, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
This guy is... I'm not getting away with this.
Yeah, again, underestimated.
Yes. Why do people keep doing that?
Yeah, and Locke, even at this point, is exhausted and still sick and...
And like half dead. Really.
Yeah, he's not doing well. And still in his underwear.
He had to recover from his throw-up sickness and then immediately go pretend to be somebody else, get beat half to death, and then put in a barrel where he can't breathe for however many minutes that was.
Yeah.
And then sneak all the way back. How does he have any steam left at all?
He's been through the ringer.
And it is his adrenaline and his anger and his grief that's the only thing that's keeping him upright.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he would just collapse. How could he not? I bet when he finally does sleep, it's going to be for like 2 days.
And Locke finally subdues the assassin and knocks him out and goes over to Bug, holds him while he dies. I was glad that they gave Bug such a good death scene, which made me really, really sad that we didn't get one for Cal and Galdo. I can just imagine if there was a fight, all the little quips they would have been throwing back and forth with the assassin as they fought and eventually lost.
And I hope that they died at the same time, so neither had to feel the loss of the other.
That's a hard thought, too.
Because just like all the Gentleman Bastards are brothers, they feel very close, but that's not the same as your actual brother, your twin, the person that you've spent literally your entire life with.
Right.
For one of them to have died and the other not, how could they have gotten over that? I mean, it would have
been unbearable.
I don't think they would have been nearly as funny.
Yeah.
Whoever was left.
So Locke's got a bug. Blood ran out of the corner of his mouth. Am I not a second, not apprentice? Real gentleman bastard. You were never a second, Bug. You were never an apprentice. Locke sobbed, tried to brush the boy's hair back, and was aghast at the bloody handprint he left on Bug's pale forehead. You brave little idiot. You brave, stupid little bastard. This is my fault, Bug. Please, please say this is all my fault. And then Bug dies. And it's really sad. And I cried a little bit at this part. It's so sad. And I mean, you think about it, and Bug's, he's 12. Mm-hmm. He's this child who has had a hard, hard life. I don't know how long he's been with the rest of the Gentleman Bastards, but not a huge amount of time.
Right. At least he had that time with them, with people that loved him and cared about him.
Right. We don't know how long he was an orphan, but remember, he never talked about the place he came from, so obviously that was a really hard time for him as well, when he was even younger. Mm-hmm. And then he's gone. Jean wakes up and is really upset now that Bug's dead too. I want to read the death offering part, but I know it's going to make me cry a little bit. It was so sad. So I'm going to wait a second, because I'm still all teary from Bug. Mm-hmm. Bug is gone. Locke goes and just hacks the hand to pieces. He wasn't sure what would happen before, but now he's like, screw it.
Luckily, hacking the hand didn't kill Jean.
Yeah.
Because I was a little concerned about him not knowing what was going to happen when he did it.
I mean, what else could he have done?
Well, what if you cut into his name and a cut appeared on him?
Oh, God.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how this magic works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if chopping up the hand chopped up Jean? I don't know. We don't know.
Luckily, it seemed to just break the enchantment.
Yes, luckily. And maybe Locke had experienced something not similar, but like had heard or, learned different things. So he figured that that's probably how to break it, without actually having seen one or experienced it. Maybe it was just an educated guess, I think is where I'm going with that.
Locke moves all the bodies into the kitchen and sets them up and kisses the twins on the forehead and covers them with silk tablecloths. And this part, even though all the deaths made me so sad, this part made me the saddest because when I watch movies, I'm fine. I'm not made of ice, but I can usually, make it through without crying. But for some reason, when a man cries in reaction to something in a movie, it gets me so much harder than women crying. I don't know why.
Because they don't as much.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I think that's what it is. It's a more intense reaction if it brings them to tears, stereotypically.
So here's what Locke said that got me more than anything else in this chapter. I promise you a death offering, brothers, Locke whispered when he'd finished. I promise you an offering that will make the gods themselves take notice. An offering that will make the shades of all the dukes and kappas of Camor feel like paupers. An offering in blood and gold and fire. This I swear by Azagule who gathers us, and by Paralandru who sheltered us, and by the crooked warden who places his finger on the scale when our souls are weighed. This I swear to Chains who kept us safe. I beg your forgiveness that I failed to do the same. That was hard to read. The assassin wakes up and Locke goes to talk to him. It said Locke was particularly unimposing after the events of this night, but everything frightening about him was concentrated in his eyes, and they bore down on the assassin with a bright, hard hatred. He says he's going to beat the Grey King, and the assassin is doubtful. I'll do more than that. Whatever he's planning, I will unmake it. Whatever he desires, I will destroy it. Every reason you came down here to murder my friends will evaporate. Every Grey King's man will die for nothing, starting with you. It sounds like Locke leaves his shark's tooth that he's worn around his neck all this time as a reminder. He leaves it down there to burn. Mm-hmm. And then they burn down the Burrow. I mean, what they can.
Right.
Because it's elder glass, but I can imagine seeing it afterward with just smooth elder glass and ashes. Do you think they'll ever go back?
I think if they do, it won't be for a long time. I think it'll be too hard. And, I mean, where are they going to go?
Do you think they think maybe they're probably just going to die in the revenge?
Probably.
So it doesn't matter?
Yeah, but even so, I mean, they're probably just not to the planning part yet. Mm-hmm. I keep going back to the Grey King starting this had to have been personal to Barsavi and to Locke. I mean, I think that the Grey King picked Locke... picked Locke because of a personal connection. I don't know what it is, but if all he needed was somebody to pretend to be him and get killed by Barsavi, he could have picked a lot of different people. It didn't have to be Locke.
Do you still think they're related?
I hope not now. Good grief.
Our understanding before was that Locke was going to be protected. He was going to have to do this, but he'd make it through. Mm-hmm. That's what Locke thought too, but completely betrayed by the Grey King the Falconer.
It has to have been Locke specific, because it could have been anybody that Barsavi didn't know. So because it was Locke, I think that was on purpose. And I think, I mean, the Gentlemen Bastards, I think as a whole were targeted. But I think it's a personal thing with Locke.
Well, in the next episode, we're going to talk about the interlude, the tale of the old handball players. And in that episode, you're going to find out the name of the next chapter, and you were going to go insane when you find out what it is. All right, now that we've made it through, Rosanna, what's your top 3 for this episode?
For my top 3, I would like to have 3 moments of silence for our very dearly departed characters that I will miss very much. All right, a moment for Callow, a moment for Galdo, and a moment for our very sweet Bug.
So sad about everybody. I'm going to miss them a lot.
I am too. How is this book even going to be any good without them?
that is one good gauge of a writer and how effective they are for me, is how upset I am when we lose characters.
Yeah.
Because so many books, people die and I'm like, yeah, they were okay, I guess they're gone now, and I don't care. But this one just had a massive effect on me.
Yeah.
For me, it's on par with Dumbledore.
Well, and Fred, I mean, this was
right?
Reminiscent of losing Fred, for sure.
It's time for predictions. What do you think's coming up next?
I think Locke is going to make the Grey King very sorry that he ever targeted him for whatever this is. And I actually really hope for some interaction between Locke and the Grey King, because I want to know why.
Why do you think? You still just no idea?
There's got to be something in the past. What could make you so angry? Because what it seems like is the Grey King has gone after revenge against Locke because of something. Though I don't know what Locke could have done. I mean, did the Grey King have a brother in the bar that Locke burned down? I don't know. But that kind of revenge, I think, will pale in comparison to what Locke is going to start working.
Well, he also seemed to have it out for Barsavi as well.
Yeah, I'm having a really hard time caring about Barsavi right now.
My question for you is this. The Grey King has gone after Barsavi and the Gentleman Bastards. If they're not both his main targets, which one do you think is his main target, and which one do you think is someone that got caught in the crossfire because he needed to get to the other one and he did what he had to do to get the other one?
So I've just had a thought.
Yes.
So Barsavi had a relationship with Father Chains.
Yeah.
And do we know how old the Grey King is?
We don't.
I just wonder if the Grey King is mad at Barsavi, and if he was mad at Father Chains, but Father Chains is already dead. So he's going after... I mean, maybe there was a Father Chains, Barsavi, Grey King interaction at one point.
Maybe they had a love triangle.
Okay, I wasn't going to say it. I was going to say an altercation.
Okay.
But maybe there was something with the three of them, and this is a product of that. Which would make the revenge against...
one stone.
Yeah, it would make the revenge against both of them, sort of equal.
Yeah. So you're going with both on this?
For now.
Now it's time for Cheek of the Week, where we talk about something good we want to share with each other and with you. This week, my cheek is super appropriate because summer is almost here. And what do you need in summer? You need a hammock. Everyone needs a hammock all summer long.
I need a hammock.
You need a hammock like my hammock. It's the Viver double hammock. It's not really a double hammock. All the things say it's a double hammock for two people. I don't know if I'm just larger than the average person, but I could not comfortably fit two of me. All the pictures they have of two people are all children when there are two of them.
I don't think even if you have a big hammock, you should ever put two people in it. That seems very precarious.
I agree. Unless you're on some reality show on an island, or it's like The Bachelor or something, where you're fitting two people in a hammock stacked one on top of each other.
Sounds also really dangerous.
But my hammock is fantastic. I love it. I got it for my birthday from my husband a few years ago, and it's been great. We put it out every summer, and it's really comfortable and kind of squishy, and it's all striped, and it's really pretty, and it's easy to move around. It has little wheels on one end, so you can pull it up and down. And they have several different colors, and they're between 85 and I think 115, depending on which one you get. I have the Oasis color with the oil-rubbed bronze frame.
Fancy.
Yeah, the hammock itself is blue, green, white, and black striped. But they have like a rainbowy one and all different colors you can get. And it's really comfy, and I like it so much. And now I just want to go outside and lie in the hammock under my tree in the backyard and have a glass of lemonade because it's going to be so hot here this weekend. Anyhow, hammocks are fantastic. And you should get a hammock. All of you listeners, you need a hammock. Even if you live in like an apartment, put a hammock in your living room.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Right in front of the window. And just nap there all summer.
Or just like in front of your computer screen with like a really good slideshow of tropical stuff.
Yeah.
Or, they have these like live cameras all over the world.
Oh,
you should
nice.
just log into one of those webcams and watch an actual, ocean scene.
And occasionally spritz yourself with some water and light a candle that's cocoa butter scented or something.
That sounds really nice.
Just make your own summer in your house. In your air-conditioned house.
Yes, definitely.
What about you, Rosanna? What's your cheek this week?
My cheek of the week is related to our family trip last weekend, where your family and my family went to the Oregon coast. And while we were there, we went to the Oregon Coast Aquarium, which is in Newport, and I love the aquarium so much. It's so much fun. All the grown-ups had fun. All the kids had fun. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And they have this amazing shark tank, which I love the sharks so much. We spent more time in there than we spent anywhere else. Just watching them, swim around. And I haven't been to very many other aquariums, so I don't know how it compares, but it's a really, really nice one. And I love that everywhere you go there, they have volunteers that are just hanging out to answer questions. They'll just tell you whatever you want. They are with the deep sea animals. They're with the birds. They are with the area where you can touch the starfish. And they volunteer. They just hang out at the aquarium all day long, which is amazing. And answer questions. And the gift shop has fudge, which is one of my favorite things to do when I travel is to buy fudge because it's delicious.
I imagine when we're both old and we're living in a nursing home, or like just before we get to nursing home, we're retired, you and I
a retirement community.
Volunteer. We'll go volunteer at the aquarium.
Yes, I will volunteer in the fudge shop. And I will be paid
sample for me
in fudge.
And you will be 400 pounds.
Well, I mean, I'll be old anyway, so it'll be fine.
So it doesn't matter.
So we had a really, really nice time at the beach, and that was definitely a highlight. It's a great aquarium. It's so much fun. The kids had a great time just seeing all the animals.
The shark tank is really neat. It's a walkway, and the walkway goes through the middle of the tanks. You see sharks and fish and rays swimming above and below you.
All around. It's so cool.
It's really cool.
I'm assuming that you knew this, Nikki, that the Oregon Coast Aquarium is where Keiko, the killer whale, used to live.
Oh,
yeah, the one that was in Free Willy.
Mm-hmm.
And after Keiko passed away, they converted that one large tank into the 3 tunnel tanks where where the fish swim and you can go through it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. It's a really, really cool place to go. I love going there. I wish I could go more often, but a 6.5-hour drive is kind of pushing it for a weekend trip.
I'm only 2.5 to 3 hours away, but we don't go very often.
Well, yeah, with a child as young as yours, that's a bit of a drive.
Yes, though she had a really fun time with all the fish. She got to touch the starfish, and it was adorable.
Yes, it was adorable. We got really great pictures of that trip, too. So, listeners, you can visit our website to learn about our other podcasts, to find all of our Cheeks of the Week, send us your questions, leave us feedback, and you can support the show through our Amazon affiliate link at somethingcheekypodcast.com/Amazon.
That's our episode. Please leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on Twitter at SomeCheek and Facebook.com/SomeCheek. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. La 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 la.